Last month, the Senate issued an ultimatum for the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to end the nationwide production of alcoholic beverages in sachets and small bottles by December 31, 2025. The directive followed a resolution by the Senate highlighting concerns over cheap alcoholic drinks packaged in sachets being easily accessed by minors. However, there are reports that the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation directed that all enforcement actions relating to the proposed ban on sachet alcohol products be suspended until further notice. Joining us on the show to discuss the ban on sachet alcoholic drinks as the deadline approaches, for which a phased enforcement was endorsed by stakeholders, is Liborous Oshoma, a lawyer. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Show. Compliments of the season.
Same to you.
Liborous, well, straightforward point. Now, the agreement by the stakeholders on this banning of sachet alcohol is that it will be a phased ban. The deadline, the moratorium, ends on December 31. That's tomorrow. However, there is this story that whereas the Senate of the Federal Republic has said, look, that should be enforced. We hear that the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation now says, oh, it should be extended further. Now, can the Office of the SGF override the Senate of the Federal Republic? And generally, what do you think about this ban on sachet drinks in the light of the environmental issues that were raised originally by NAFDAC particularly?
Apart from the environmental issue, let me start from there, is the fact that I was driving on my way here. I saw a driver with a sachet of one of these drinks in his mouth driving. So it is bad enough that we're talking about road accidents. Yeah. And then where a driver can easily consume alcohol. For a bottle, it is difficult. Easily consume alcohol while driving. Not to talk of the environmental, issues to the sachet. And also, now let's go to the law. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation is appointed under Section 171 of the Constitution by the President. So he functions to coordinate and implement the policies of government. Why, if you look at Section 5 and 31 of the NAFDAC Act, it empowers NAFDAC to administer and regulate consumption of food and related products. So Section 28 of that Act puts the regulation or the supervisory powers of NAFDAC squarely at the doorstep of the minister, not even to dictate to them. But in terms of policy regulation, the minister can give instructions. So NAFDAC is a regulator. And the Office of the Government, Secretary of the Government of the Federation has no business, no relationship at all with NAFDAC. And that's why there is a regulator. And so the Office of the Government of the Federation issuing directive to NAFDAC to stop implementation of the decision reached collectively by stakeholders. And mind you, it was not just a 6-month thing. This issue started about 2 years ago, and a moratorium period was granted to enable stakeholders and producers sell off old stocks. But because they've segmented the market and they know that these products are easily consumed by just anybody, you have a lot of those we call it yak baraga. Yeah. They can afford it, 5 naira, 2 naira, and so they know they have segmented the market. At every turn, there's the allegation of going to beg some government officials, and it's only here, unfortunately, that we really do not have, even where we have the lines, where lines are clear, where supervisory rules are very clear, we still have certain persons who will sit down and believe that they can act or traverse the rules and regulations. And so that's why for me, it is not, there are some command or instructions that should not be obeyed. It is not for NAFDAC to begin to take instructions from the office of the government of the Secretary of Government of the Federation. The government of the Federation, Secretary of Government of the Federation, if he has any concern, should direct such concerns to the Minister of Information, Minister of Health, and that minister will look at these concerns and address it with stakeholders, address it with the regulator, not for you to now just give a blanket instructions as if you're acting for and on behalf of the council. And mind you also, lastly, on this, most times it is to implement the decisions of the Federal Executive Council and not to breathe down the neck of a regulator. Because if we continue like this, it means that as a regulator, government can just wake up. If you try to regulate any product, government can just wake up and say, no, don't do that. Then we are creating superhuman beings rather than creating institutions that we truly want to build.
Thank you. So NAFDAC is adamant because there have been, like you mentioned, moratoriums that have been provided for based on industry concerns. There's a concern around job losses. We've taken a number of interviews around that on both sides of the divide. Now, 1st of January is said to be sacrosanct, that they're going to go ahead. The Senate has backed them. Is there any chance at all, despite what you've said in terms of the provisions of the law and the duties of each parties, that this would be stalled? And then the second part of Dr. Batta's question around your view on this, especially in light of what we've seen recently during the festive season, an increase in road accidents. We have a problem on our hands with regards to underage drinking. Maybe in addition to that, should there be more that NAFDAC should be doing? I know in some countries you have to be ID'd if you look at a certain age, to be able to buy drinks. So beyond the ban, are there other areas that ought to be done to ensure that this is actually very effective? Yeah,
government is a collaborative effort. I believe, not too long ago, this year, we saw how NAFDAC had consistently breathed down the neck of pharmaceutical dealers in Idumota to say, look, this environment is not conducive for selling pharmaceutical product. And I think that NAFDAC, I like the fact that they are adamant and they have decided to go headlong.
Yes,
because they do not, it's like me coming to give Rufai instructions here and say, look, I have been sent. I like that fact. And then also, it is not just enough to say we have banned. Because the problem with us as a people is not policies. It is implementation of the policy. There's need, even though we don't have record, there's need to go that hug of even IDing people who can afford drinks. Because also, and then those who can sell. Because the problem actually started from the sale of this alcohol. If anybody can just sell without whether you are licensed to sell or not, then anybody can consume, anybody can buy from you. So even if we ban and there is no proper regulation, people can still buy even in bottles and consume. And you see, NAFDAC consistently had gone a whole hog of trying to also regulate fake drinks in the market. We've seen them, go into market to destroy production of fake drinks. It is not, NAFDAC is not working alone. They have collaborators in all of this. And that's why I also think that there should be collaborators, no matter how we look at them. Some of these National Union of Road Transport Workers, the PAC management, there should be strong collaborators between NAFDAC and these people. And this is what I expect the Office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation to be preaching. And not to say, give them another moratorium or stop the implementation pending when government will look at it, a government that will never look at anything. So NAFDAC should partner with the media also to ensure, and influencers, to ensure that the message is driven down to the barest rung of the ladder. These are the people that are actually vulnerable. And because also, sorry Rufai, Section 17.3 of the Constitution actually empowers government to protect children and the vulnerable. So in protecting them, it is not enough to just ban. It is also enough to collaborate with all stakeholders, not just the producers of this drink, even those people who are likely, whose place are likely to be, this drink alcohol is likely to be consumed, including clubs.
Okay. So, the question and the doubts I've always had about this is, number one, what data supports the fact that this sachet alcohol is the biggest menace with that? Has NAFDAC be able to do empirical data to relate sachet alcohol? When this argument, because this is the question I keep asking, when this matter started, Are they able to determine empirical data that is this sachet alcohol that caused most of the road accidents and other mayhem? Do we even have breathalyzer tests for drivers? What's the breathalyzer sample? So what's the data set? That's number one.
Okay.
Number one question is the data set. Number two question I would also like to ask them and the enforcers of this is, yes, it's for them to enforce, but also the witch hunt and the argument as regards protecting an industry, which is also valid. If my memory serves me right, these people take about 5% of the market force, the employment forces in this country, the drink and beverage sector, which I'm also going to say is going to hamper them, which sector you have also overtaxed, and we have advocated for many taxes for them in the first place. At a time where our economy is struggling, you want to overtax people, and NAFDAC is coming up with this. Are there no other better things, to be able to do, rather than these people that NAFDAC has now put their eyes on? I want the data set.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I will answer. I will.
Between this sachet alcohol and the number of.
I will do that now. First and foremost, let's start from the last one, and then I'll get to your data set. You see, there's never a time to do everything at once. We'll have to, at some point, take it one at a time. They say, when trees falls on trees, first the topmost are removed. So we have a problem. So you can't sit down and say, until you are able to solve all the bigger problems. If you're able to solve the small problems, that might even help in solving a bigger problem. Rufai, go visit any park in Nigeria, and not including places where alcohol is banned. Not just in Lagos. Visit any park and see the proliferation of sachet drinks, how people purchase these drinks.
That's anecdotal. That's not empirical.
It is for me.
No, that's anecdotal. That's anecdotal.
I just told you.
If you give me, if NAFDAC, maybe if you cannot give me Liborous, if NAFDAC can give me the data sets that correlates sachet alcohol drinking with the increase in accidents.
I'm not going to.
I will be the first.
Also underage drinking.
I'm not going to accidents.
I will be the first to support them.
I'm not even talking about.
Us the even for underage drinking, give us the data sets.
I'm not going to even accident like I had consistently said. First and foremost, take a drive to any of the parks. If I want to do, if I want to do a data collation for Lagos alone, I've driven to most parks. I don't work in NAFDAC, so I might not have their records. But if you go to visit any park, I just told you now, on my way here, a driver driving a bus with sachet drink in his mouth. That's for me as a person. Then if you visit most of these parks, and then you take another example, visit any playground on Sundays or Saturday mornings. I visit one regularly. I've even invited you, and I'm inviting you again. Go there, and you will see how young children would come, and you have one Iyak Baraga selling all sorts.
And that's your playground?
Yes.
Young children?
Yes.
Yakparaga?
Yes.
And you saw them there, you didn't control the young children?
So let me tell you,
and you didn't discipline the young children?
Stop saying Yakparaga. Describe
and you didn't discipline the young children?
In your language.
Yeah.
And you saw them.
So you find that consistently we have been able to discipline the one we could, drive the one we... But how many?
So it's banning is not as a solution.
So Rufai, they sell drinks, even abroad they sell drinks in small bottles.
Because the argument you are making is just like, and I feel pained about
let me land, Rufai.
The argument you are making is just like Anthony Joshua's incident. That, because a truck was parked at the roadside, ban trucks.
Let me land on
ban
this.
Cars.
No, that's not the argument.
No, but that's the argument.
I agree with the ban, but I also think, like you mentioned, it's important to use data to support. I know it is true.
That's what I'm saying.
You are not even in a position to provide
the data.
That's what that will be the responsibility of
the regulator,
relevant regulatory authority.
Exactly. So,
but let me a question for you.
Yeah. So let me land on the ones that I have seen with my eyes, and the fact that as a human rights person, and I feel abused most times, because when I see children doing this with reckless abandon, the question I ask myself, where is NAFDAC in all of this? Why continue? Why allow? It started with a production of just one, and then before you knew it, all of them, there is no drink now that does not have sachet production. And so, sorry, doctor, let me just a few seconds.
I just want to move to more important issues. Tomorrow is the deadline. What do we expect? The Senate is, or the office of the SGF disagrees with the Senate. Tomorrow is the sunset clause on the sale of this sachet.
The office...
There is also a pending matter in court. I think Serap, right? Went to court against the Minister of Health and another. Where are we with that issue?
The matter is still at the preliminary stage. And the issue is, even Serap had gone to court insisting on implementation of that regulation and agreement. So while the matter is in court, I wonder why the SGF would not allow the court to exhaust, its... exactly.
Why are you talking like you
so
don't know
that's what I'm saying. So on the implementation, I like I said, I like the fact that NAFDAC is not backing down. And then talking about data also, even the hazard of this sachet to the environment is much more than enough. We're talking about even let's use the data for sachet water production that Lagos State had banned.
And the Lagos State give you data before banning
sachet water.
No. I mean, you have to pay for your bags.
There's still sachet water bags.
No, but you have to ban on principle. You have to ban.
It's per principle. It's not functional.
It is highly regulated now because the production of it.
But you still have.
But they use bottles.
No, even but you still have sachet. In fact, you have just made my point for me. PET bottles are the greatest danger. Even worse than you see these PET bottles. You see, at the end of the day, when for us to clean our environment, for us to have a sane society, like we always say, in saner climes, we'll have to take one step at a time. And my advice to NAFDAC really is the office, they do not report to the office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation. He's a rabble-rouser in as far as this.
And who will they listen to, NAFDAC or SGF? Is it not the security?
NAFDAC,
who will enforce?
The security, NAFDAC also have their security attached to them.
Okay.
So the office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation is a rabble-rouser in this matter.
I will not clash. We've seen security agents clash.
Where will the office...
NAFDAC has a statutory
authority to
as a regulator. Okay. That's the basic
so
point.
Can the office of the Secretary of the Government of the Federation stop NAFDAC from performing its statutory function? Won't that bring us
on paper?
Would that bring us?
Talking like you don't live in this country. It is well. We need to go.
Thank you so much, Liborous. On paper, and I do hope that what is the law will take its effect. We keep talking about the respect for the rule of law, and at the end of the day,
so let us encourage the office of the Government of the Federation to obey the rule.
Absolutely,
obey the law.
That's our stand.
Not to say that we should.
And give us data.
Yes, we will. The next time when I come, when you come, give us data. I'll give you the data.
NAFDAC should come here.
Yes,
you should come here and stop talking in the dark.
I'll give you the data.